How's it going, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Bronx Attorney Broadcast. Today, I talk about networking with Aaron Fine. Aaron Fine is a personal injury attorney at Edelman, Crayson, and Jay. And for personal injury attorneys, the reason why networking is so important is because you have to build your own book of business, or a firm within a firm, as Aaron puts it, so you can continue to earn more money as you progress through your career. It's a little bit different from some other areas of practice where you don't have to bring in your own clients as much. So, it's really important to us. And I think that this is something that can also translate across practice groups. Real estate attorneys, estate planning attorneys, they're always looking for new clients as well. So, here's the episode with Aaron about networking. Hey, Aaron, how's it going today? Thanks for taking the time to chat with me tonight.
Yeah, my pleasure. Happy to be here. Talk to you as always.
Yeah, and I'm typically underdressed, but today I had court, so I'm actually in a suit like everybody else is.
All right. I mean, I'm always on court. You never know. Sometimes these judges call, got to show up.
And now they got Zoom, so they can get you when you're not ready for it too. You got to keep a jacket at the office.
Has that happened to you? That's happened to me twice in the last month.
Every once in a while.
I
More
still have
so it's that I forgot, and then I have to, put the tie and the jacket on.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? What firm do you work at? Where are you from? Give us your name and a quick little bio.
Sure. Aaron Fine. Went to St. John's, as you know, Will.
Go Johnnies.
Work for Edelman, Crayson, and Jay, personal injury firm. Offices in Westbury. We have offices in the Bronx, out east, somewhere in Suffolk. But we handle cases all over New York, New Jersey. Any type of PI case, we handle it. Med mal, labor law, trip and fall, slip and fall, whatever you need.
And you started there straight after law school, right?
Yeah, I actually interned here as a 2L. I clerked here as a 2L, and never left.
Okay, so they must have been good to you when you were an intern, so that you didn't run away and go somewhere else, go to the defense side.
Well, it's a funny story. I always told myself I would never want to do PI. The whole ambulance chasing and whatnot. I applied to this firm as a law student looking for a summer job. I was really looking for some litigation experience, and I knew PI, very heavily in litigation, as you know. I just want to be a trial attorney, but I didn't care which area, but I knew not PI, but just wanted to get some experience. So I interviewed. They told me here that I'd be doing motions and going to court, all that great stuff that I wanted to do. And then once I started working, it's like, wow, people actually got hurt. And I never left. Really liked it here.
Okay. And so what I wanted to talk about today is, I think that you had a similar introduction when you started working. But I know for me, it was, the initial salary offer and the personal injury plaintiff side is a little bit lower than, some other areas. But what happens is, the firm will say you have the ability to kind of control your own destiny, and you'll make more money when you bring in your own work. And I remember for myself sitting there and thinking to myself, well, that's great, and I would love to make more money, but I don't know the first thing about how to build a book of business, where to find clients. You're not gonna go hang out at the hospital and with your cards, right? You gotta find a way to build this business. Is that something that your experience, interviewing and getting the offer as well?
Absolutely. So I knew that I wanted to work here for the environment, for the type of work, but of course, none of us work for free, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. So especially out on Long Island, it's not what we thought going into law school. I think any lawyer knew what actually being a lawyer was like before going to law school to begin with. It's not making 300,000 out of school. But I do recall sitting in one of the attorney's offices while trying to make my decision, who happens to not be here anymore because he went out and started his own firm.
Okay.
That's kind of what I guess we're going to talk about. and he just told me that it's the benefit of having a firm within a firm, which is what we have here. I handle cases for the firm, but I also, they don't turn me down. If I have a case, somebody comes to me that sounds, why not? We go for it. And with that, you really put in what you get. You get what you put in, I should say. It's about effort and I'm not here until midnight working, but networking is a big part of it. And, I've had those same thoughts. I remember sitting in that office thinking to myself, like you said, oh, that's so nice that you're very successful, but that's you. Who's going to say, how do you know that's going to be me? He just said, don't worry, it will. And just things that just naturally happen, put me on this path on how to do that. And hopefully one day, I'll be giving the same advice to someone else.
Yeah. And another thing is, I feel like when you're in law school, you're thinking about that Midtown Manhattan office where you're on the, 70th floor. And now, you're sitting in where in Nassau County?
In Westbury.
And you're in Westbury and I'm on City Island. So that didn't really turn out like the, like it was expected to, but I think it's going well for both of us.
Right. I would say what's really cool is that straight out of law school, before I was even admitted, I had an office. I wasn't in a cubicle. I had an office. 3 months after being admitted, I was trying a case. So, wow. So these are things that, our industry, PI, we're so litigious that, it really allows for stuff like that. And especially with my firm, they're always encouraging bringing in the business is always a big part of it. I really feel like there are two types of people when it comes to networking. There are those who are just born that they can do it. A schmoozer, exactly. And there are those who need to be pushed. And honestly, I was one of those that needed to be pushed. I was pushed into a networking group. That was what I had to hear from day one. And I really think that's kind of where it has to start.
So when you say you were pushed into a networking group, what do you mean by that?
Every attorney in my office is part of a networking group, whether it's BNI or I'm part of IBO. It's essentially a greater business networking organization where it's basically IBO, for example, stands for Interchange Business Organization, where there are different local chapters for different towns. So I'm part of the Baldwin chapter / Rockville Center chapter, known as Alliance of IBO. And essentially it's each mini chapter has a weekly meeting, has a weekly group, and each group can only have one individual from each profession. So one personal injury attorney, one real estate attorney, one finance, advisor. And from that internally, we're supposed to be referring, if I know someone who needs a real estate attorney,
right,
send it over to my real estate attorney in my group and vice versa. And from there it starts, and then you meet people through that, not just even referring, but connections and whatnot. And, it just grows out from there. So that's really where I was always told I needed to start. And from day one, I've been told I need to, my boss says, when are you in the group? When's your meeting? What's the name of your group? Where's your group meeting? So.
How did you find this IBO chapter?
So again, one of the members of my firm, former members who I was talking about before, who started his own firm, he was part of IBO, and he just told me to just go on the website. Anyone could do it. And you just search through the different chapters, see if there are any local chapters or wherever you're willing to travel. It's a once a week meeting that needs someone in your industry. So happens to be Rockville Center, was 10 minutes from my house, which was great, especially with a 7:30 a.m. breakfast meeting. We needed a PI attorney. So I reached out to the president at the time. We spoke, did a bit of an interview. I visited, saw that it worked out. And I know there are people who they're always looking for people to start chapters as well. So, if you want to be that PI attorney chapter in your local area that doesn't have one, there you go. And IBO, the I guess guy runs it, Tom Gibson, he'll always help you try to connect you with people to start a group.
And so he runs the whole IBO. Is that like a company that he owns, or?
Right. So I
Okay.
guess he owns it. And I don't know how many chapters are. This isn't necessarily an IBO, commercial, but it's what
Hmm.
works for me. So BNI
Okay.
is also very similar. I know a lot of attorneys do that as well. Um,
Yeah.
runs broader IBO events for all the chapters to go to. So definitely
And
help out.
have you found success in that in getting referred cases?
Yeah, I would say most of my cases have originated from my IBO group.
Hmm.
Maybe not necessarily a direct, here's a referral, although I have a lot of those, but also a connection to somebody who would refer me a case. So a lot from that. Um,
And is it
you
like
know,
the other professionals, like clients that had something happen that they couldn't handle, or it's like their family member or friend, or it could be anything?
right, exactly. And that's the nature of what we do, especially, and I mention this all the time during my meetings, is that, it's not as simple as, hey, everyone needs an accountant, but
Mm,
we not everybody needs a personal injury attorney. What
right.
we do is kind of, it's happenstance, it's
Right.
accidents, right?
If and when it happens,
Call me, right?
right.
Exactly.
Right.
That's that. That being said, you never know who knows people. There's also good connections to be made with
Hmm.
whether it's with a physical therapist or a chiropractor or a workers' compensation attorney, someone who other attorneys really who don't do what we do and refer to us. It's all about meeting people. That's what you need to do.
And so what do you do at these meetings actually? You go there at 7:30, you sit around a table, you have bagels, and what do you do?
Yeah. So we go around, um, give the same elevator speech week to week. What we do, what we're looking for. Hopefully, if you have a good story to tell that happened over the week, think if there's some member of the group that gave you a referral, you thank them. And once a week, normally one of the members gives some kind of spotlight of what they do.
Mm,
Talk about certain part of their industry that you want to talk about. I talk about no fault law all the time, how it's really important to get coverage because
hmm. Hmm.
so many clients call up and complain about the coverage, but you got to pay up for it.
Right. And
So
so for people who don't know, I know that's not what we were intending to talk about today, but because it came up, the underinsured motorist coverage is when you on your vehicle, you pay, to have a certain policy if you rear end somebody and injure them. But the is for if you're injured by somebody else and they have no insurance, right?
right, and I think that also goes into the networking part of it as well. Is that there are things that we know that a lot of people don't know,
Mm-hmm.
and many times I talk about the topic, it's always something new to somebody. And,
Right.
from what you and I do, it's an everyday thing, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not for so many people. And that's part of networking too, just showing your knowledge and standing out when you're amongst other professionals as well.
So what, like, did you have a meeting this week yet?
We usually meet on Wednesday mornings, so not yet, not yet.
What's your pitch going to be on Wednesday, or your elevator speech?
Well, this time of year, I like to give the whole it's icy out,
Mm-hmm.
watch how you drive and all that and that spiel. But we haven't had much snow, so uh I gotta think about it. We'll see.
Okay. Not only where you drive, but where you step too, because especially in the New York City area, people do a really terrible job of cleaning off ice and snow. It's like they do the bare minimum, and then you see also where you have the 6-inch wide kind of path to walk down in front of some places.
Right. And even more so in Nassau County, where we have all these, the prior written notice laws are so much stricter than in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
But that's another topic.
Right. Yeah. Too many branches off from the main topic for today. So do you remember what the first case you had referred to you was?
I do.
Do you remember how you got it?
It was from my networking group.
Okay. And what happened? Somebody just called you up and was like, hey.
Yeah. He called me up, told me that his girlfriend was injured in a diner, fell off one of those raised steps that didn't say watch your step,
Mm-hmm.
blended in with the floor below, and broke her shoulder. That
Oh,
was my first.
wow. So that's a
Yeah.
pretty severe injury. So she was just walking. She didn't even know there was a step there. And then all of a sudden she plunged downward.
Right. and our expert went in there, showed that the step itself was way too close to the booth as well. So there wasn't even room to get up, take a step, and then walk down the step. It was almost like you take a step straight out of the booth. There's a step there. Nothing says, like I said, no, watch your step. Nothing to differentiate the step from the floor below. So yeah, that was my first case that I got.
Yes, I think that, I was pretty apprehensive of these networking groups. A lot of times I go and it's like a real estate agent, a mortgage broker, an insurance guy. And it seems like they're all just trying to do like deals together. And I'm like, where do I fit in here? But more and more, it seems like people are having some good experiences. And now I'm like, I definitely got to sign up for one. And what I first did was I started with like giveaways. So I made like 500 keychains with my phone number on it. And I just had to say like Will Ferrero injury attorney and my phone number. And some kid I went to high school with that I didn't really like, we were friendly, but we weren't like friends. Like I didn't like have his phone number or anything. I gave him one randomly when I saw him out, and he called me like 2 months later and he was like, oh, I met a guy, he needs an attorney. And that was my first referral. And I was like shocked that it worked so easily. Like you just gotta like, it's almost like you just got to get it out there that here's what I do. And then people will find you, right? Are you having that experience too?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what that attorney told me way back when, was that he got his first case was, I forgot exactly what happened, but that case turned into his brother, it turned into his nephew, it turned into his cousin. And next thing you know, it all branches out. So, the keychains and everything, that's fine. But really at the end of the day, it's kind of who you know. And
right.
Once you find that one person, you never know where it could go. You never know.
You're saying one person could snowball and turn into, that person ends up being like the go-to person in their community, and everyone's going to them and saying, I need a personal injury attorney, and they know you.
Exactly. It's kind of like a family tree or referral type of situation.
Yeah.
You never know. It's endless branching out. I have a couple of those where I call quote unquote my second generation referrals.
Okay.
So
I like these terms you're throwing out. Firm within a firm, second generation referral.
The second one's trademark. The first one I've been told, but the second one, second generation, that's mine. I made that up.
All right. So I'll have to let everybody know if I use it, it's from you. So, you mentioned that you had a trial right away when you first got admitted. How was that experience? Did that reaffirm your desire to be a litigator, or did you have a different experience?
Yeah, it's first of all, of course, it was terrifying. It was an expedited jury trial in Nassau County, so it was a one-day trial, no doctors, no experts. So the pressure is quote unquote less, although it's not, still a real trial.
And were you the first seat on it, or were you a second seat on it?
It was just me.
Wow. They must have had some trust in you to really just throw you out there.
Trust in me, didn't care about the case.
Who's to say?
Of course, no, we care about all our cases, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was terrifying leading up to it. But of course, that fear is what helps you prepare for it. And then once you do it, it's just so much fun. It really is.
Yeah. Well, if you do well, it's fun.
Well,
it's less fun if you don't do well.
It is true. I mean, I lost because I was, it was going to happen. But, we talked about earlier about going to law school and not really knowing what being a lawyer is.
Right.
That's all going before law school from all the TV shows and movies, being people in court. So finally, that was cool. That was, doing that. That was really cool.
Yeah. It's funny because I've, right before law school and during law school, a lot of people told me this is what being an attorney is. And they all had a completely different perception of what being an attorney was. And they're all like, get used to it because this is what being an attorney is like. And then the next job would be completely different.
Right. And you know what? I was thinking about it the other day. You know what? You correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't recall one class being offered on networking or, business and anything like that in law school.
I'm not aware of any. I do have one of my friends who was on an earlier episode of the podcast, Nick Patrick, did have a like small firm management class at his school. And I was like, that's incredible. I would have loved to, although I don't know if I would have had my same mindset back then, but it would have been an interesting class to take. This episode of the Bronx Attorney Broadcast was brought to you by me, Will Ferrero. I'm an attorney at Prior Law right here in the Bronx, and we primarily practice in personal injury. However, we do also do a variety of areas of practice. So I can help you with just about any sort of legal issue that you might have. I'm admitted to practice both in New York and New Jersey. And if it's not something that I can personally help you with, I can connect you with someone in my network of attorneys who is best equipped to help you with your legal issue. You can find me on Instagram and on Twitter at Bronx Attorney. You can send me an email, Ferrero@Prior Law, or call me at the office, 718-829-0222. And now back to the show.
Yeah, for sure. But at the end of the day, you got to think about everything as a networking opportunity. Hasn't happened to me, but you hear stories about winning a big trial and your adversary coming over to you, hey, you did a good job, we should talk. Everything's a networking opportunity. So
yeah, maybe you should pitch that class to St. John's and you could teach it at night. Networking and firm within a firm management with Aaron Fine.
Sure. And tuition will just be contingent on our students graduating. Yeah, okay. Why not? That's not a bad idea.
All right. Well, you'll have to pitch it. So do you get cases also from places other places than just the networking group, or is it pretty much exclusively the group?
No, friends, things happen. That's just life. So I know I have a really good friend, unfortunately got into a car accident, handling his case, his mom's case. And then he knows somebody who got into a car accident. Mm-hmm. So, I think about it all the time, thinking about that conversation I had with, the attorney who, I guess mentored me, mm-hmm. Thinking to myself, who do I know? Like, how am I gonna grow? Where are my referrals gonna come from? And you don't know who you know until mm-hmm. it happens. And right. So friends, just meet people. You just never know. Uber drivers, it's awkward, but talk to every single.
Passing out your card everywhere you go.
Well, not all the time. You gotta, sometimes you gotta fill it out. But it's awkward. But yeah, pass out your cards. Really, just you never know. You really just never know.
And so I've heard people say who are personal injury attorneys, they'll say that. A friend was in an accident and they hired somebody else because they didn't know that we do personal injury. So how do you make sure that, everybody knows everybody in your family, your friends, they know that you're an attorney? How do you make sure that they know that you're a personal injury attorney who, can take on all these cases and will go to trial and will do all these things?
That's a good question. So I hate to say it, but a lot of it's just humor. I'll make a joke about something, God forbid, happening. Oh, you should have called me or something like that. Yeah. Oh, why? Well, because I do personal injury. I handle accidents. And that kind of starts the conversation because a lot of people, everybody, I would say, knows a lawyer.
Right.
But not everyone knows a personal injury lawyer because there is that stigma of, don't walk around and say I'm a personal injury lawyer. And it's a shame because we really do a lot of, we do good work for people who need it. So just you got to look for opportunities and volunteer it sometimes.
Yeah. And you say that, and I think that a lot of people don't realize how severe a injury has to be in order to recover from it. The people do get hurt all the time and never see a dollar because, it's not worth it to take that case to trial. It'll get dismissed. And there are there is a pretty serious threshold to recover a substantial amount here.
Right. And to show that extreme as well, my friend who was involved in that car accident, he was offered the day after his accident, he was offered $500 from Progressive. And he thought about taking it. Wow, it's $500. Often your pain, you don't really feel it until the next day or so. I told him, just don't rush the $500. This case is worth upwards of $100,000 at this
Oh,
point.
really? That much?
Right. And the insurance companies know that, they know that, for a lot of people, $500 is a lot of money. And all I did was get into a car accident. My neck hurts a little bit. It's not big deal. I don't like lawyers. I don't like lawsuits. Well, that's why we're around.
And then, next thing you know, you get an MRI and you need some sort of surgery or injections or something like that.
Right.
And it's worth a lot more than $500, all that pain and suffering you're having.
Exactly.
And, back to, so what I do to make sure everybody knows that I'm a personal injury attorney is like, I kind of almost take it to the point of being like corny about it.
Right.
Like I'll see somebody and I'll have like my t-shirts in my trunk and I'll be like, you want a Will Ferrero injury attorney t-shirt? And they're like, you have t-shirts? And I'm like, of course I have t-shirts. And like, they got UFOs on them. And, I just did it because I think that it's cool. And for $6, I'm giving somebody a t-shirt. They're not going to forget that I do personal injury because they got a t-shirt in their drawer that says it on it. So, that's what's been working for me so far.
Exactly. I think that's great because I often get asked, I'm sure you get the follow-up when people find out I do a personal injury. Oh, what's your commercial? What's your billboard? What's your jingle? They expect shtick like that. They expect, something like that. So,
or they compare you to like one of the big guys.
Right.
Like, oh, you're going to take down so-and-so, or are you so-and-so? And it's like, no, it's not. It's in the same, same ballpark.
It works. Morgan & Morgan's a big player out here. Their catchphrase is size matters. They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So
you got more trials on the horizon?
I do. I have one on the 18th, a car accident case. Then I have one on the 25th. And then I have one on February 5th. So pretty busy.
Okay. And then when you win those, you got to post some nice graphics. So everybody knows how good you are.
All right.
And that'll keep people coming. They're like, oh, wow, look at Aaron. He just won this crazy verdict.
Well, that's part of it as well. Facebook groups are also, got to get in those. There are a lot of business Facebook groups. Of course, you get into one of these. I'm in what's called Long Island Business and Communities, run by a buddy of mine who's actually in my local IBO network group.
Interesting.
And of course, I'm not the only PI attorney in the group. It also helps to know the admin. But, that's where you post stuff like that about verdicts, big wins, motion wins, anything like that. And if you have other people in the group to prop you up as well, that's very helpful. So really, you just got to expand your outreach because
I wasn't even aware that they had Facebook groups like that.
Yeah, every town has one. Every type of whatever you could think of subgroup has a Facebook group.
Is it like a geared towards networking, or is it just like the Westbury neighbors group or something like that?
Both. There's the networking Facebook groups there where you could post about networking events, where you could post about your firm, you could post about your business, whatever it is. And then, like you said, the Westbury moms, obviously I'm not part of that, but or Westbury dads, or I'm from West Hempstead, the West Hempstead Jewish community page, things like that. I actually got a case from there.
Really?
Yeah.
And so you're just posting in this group, or you're waiting until somebody, asks for somebody, or what are you doing?
Yeah, so that's actually a good point because there's really two ways of getting a case. There's a passive approach and there's an active approach. The active approach is going to the networking meetings, going to the networking events. And then there's the passive approach, like I said, of knowing someone who knows somebody. Just being a part of these Facebook groups where somebody posts, hey, I just happened to get hit by a car while crossing the street. Anyone know who I could call to? And it's not even necessarily about looking for a lawyer. I need a good doctor to refer me to.
Right.
Say, hey, by the way, who's going to pay for your bills? You have anyone help you out with no fault? What's no fault? That's what starts the conversation. So that's a really great, passive approach to networking.
And I think there's a value in knowing good doctors too, right? Because if you're working with doctors all the time, you'll know, this guy has a really great facility and it's, and then this other person, it's not so nice over there. So maybe you want to choose, option number A, or letter A rather. I'm finding people will like ask me questions about that, knowing that they don't have a case, but they're like, who do you like in this area?
Right, exactly. And it also builds trust as well, because, a lot of people aren't thinking lawsuit after a car accident. They're thinking about their health, which is absolutely the right approach. And if they ask you for help with that, you want to give them the best help, because at the end of the day, if they choose to bring a lawsuit, they want to use you. You want them to want to use you. So, knowing doctors who know what they're doing in terms of treating these type of injuries. A herniation for a 20-year-old is completely different than a herniation for a 60-year-old.
Right.
And
Right.
doctors who understand that, you build those through doing what we do, knowing who's good and, who knows what they're doing.
Yeah. And you also show that you're like a valuable source of information and a trustworthy source of information. Like, oh, I went to that person and they were really good. Thank you for, letting me know. And then, the next time when something happens, they come back to you because they trust,
Right.
your referrals.
Right. And I'll tell you why all of these networking groups want a personal injury attorney. It's because we touch, we have clients from every end of the spectrum, and everybody needs a financial advisor. Everybody's going to sell their home at some point.
Right.
Everybody's going to need a dentist. Everybody needs an accountant. We are exposed to so many people that that these networking groups want us. And if they want us, they need to earn us, and they need to earn us by giving us business as well. So it works.
And getting injured isn't something that exclusively happens to one, gender or race or socioeconomic group. It could happen to anybody,
Exactly.
at the drop of a hat.
Exactly. Which is why you just need to meet people, give out your cards. And it's awkward, I know. Talk to your Uber drivers. You never know. Worst case, you never hear from these people ever again. They take your card, they throw it in the garbage. You never know. All you need is that one big case, right?
Yep. I got a call one time from an Uber driver, but it was like something completely crazy that, you get those, they want you to take on a case that doesn't make any sense or something like that. And you got to explain to them.
Yeah. My craziest call, also some Uber driver, he got hit by a stray bullet.
What?
And wants to find the guy who shot him for negligence.
Oh my God. I mean, that person probably was negligent.
Right. And then I had to explain the likelihood of first catching the guy.
Right.
Second of all, that person having any type of assets to go after.
Yeah. You
But
typically don't get an insurance policy for
No.
negligent gun usage.
But thankfully that individual never followed up with me, so I never had to have that problem.
Right.
But
Right. Are there any other avenues of networking that you do that we haven't really touched on yet?
sure. So talk a little bit about the networking events, all bar association events, things like that. Every subgroup of whatever you could think of has a bar association. Like I said, IBO has multiple of these broader networking events throughout the year, which are fine. The problem is that even talking about IBO or BNI for these broader networking groups is that now you got all the local ones, and I'm one of 100 PI attorneys at these things. I'm one of 100 attorneys, at the Nassau Bar Association, events, whatever they are. So, they're good. It's always good to meet people, like I said. But if you're going to go that route, stand out. I mean, I went to the last 2 years, I went to the Colombian Association, big barbecue the last 2 years. But that's the Italian American Bar Association, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah. Very Catholic. So the first year I went, I was telling people to filter fish out of water.
Oh, geez.
So, that's what I was doing. I was making, dumb Jewish puns and whatever that maybe somebody said to me would have insulted me, but whatever. Got to stick out. But the next year, everyone remembered me as the Jew from last year. So if you're going to these things, you want to stand out.
Right. That's good advice. Is there any networking avenues you're going to go down that you haven't done yet? Because after having this conversation, I'm definitely signing up for one of these networking groups. You know, even if I got to get myself out of bed at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I would definitely tell you it's once a week. You know, you could find groups that will let you join other groups as well, that you're not just beholden to one group. You know, like I said, it's all random anyways. You know, if you're gonna wait for somebody to know someone who got hurt, that's one thing, but it just helps you meet people. In terms of other ways to do it, you know, like I said, every opportunity, everything you do is a networking opportunity. You know, I do talk to my adversaries after a trial. You know, especially with defense attorneys, you never know. You know, something comes across their desk. They do defense. They don't do plaintiff. Maybe they'll send something over. You know, those are really like the main things. Other attorneys, they're our best referral source. You know,
very true.
That's really what it is. You just got to get out there. You got to meet people, but you got to be out there and meet people in the right circumstances. Like I said, you don't want to be one fish in a giant ocean of 100,000 PI attorneys at, you know, the plaintiff's bar event. But also whenever you see people, whenever you meet someone new, do not be shy. Brag about yourself. I bragged about going to the court, about filing an appeal with the Court of Appeals the other day.
Okay.
I was actually at my networking breakfast. It was last Wednesday, and we're talking about certain things, new things that are going on. I said I filed a Court of Appeals brief, and I'm going to argue it in a couple of months, hopefully. And I turned to the divorce attorney at the table. I said, "Have you ever done that?" Twice my age. No, I haven't. I turned to the estate law attorney. Have you ever done that? No, I haven't. Now everyone's like, "Wow."
I've been to the Court of Appeals. I was second seat though. I didn't say anything, but I was there. I was physically in that court.
Well, you were on that team, so you argued at the Court of Appeals.
There you go.
Like I said at the breakfast, you know, that's so cool, right? That's so cool that you did that. That's so cool that I'm going to do that. But what's it worth if you're just patting yourself on the back? Like, well,
nobody knows that you did it.
Exactly. So, you know, and if I get this case overturned, it's going on Facebook. It's going on Instagram.
Yeah. There you go. It should. It'd be something to be proud of.
Right.
So if somebody wants to network with you or follow you or reach out for any reason, you know, where could people find you who might see or listen to this?
Facebook, Instagram, go to my firm's website. We post, you know, if we have something big, it goes on there. And hopefully I'll have a commercial soon.
Yeah, there you go. You got a handle or an email or anything that people should look for?
Sure. afine@ekjlaw.com is my email. Instagram is just search Aaron Fine. Facebook, Aaron Fine.
There you go.
You know, there you go.
All right, Aaron. Nice chatting with you today. Have a good one.
Always.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Bronx Attorney Broadcast. Please like, review, and subscribe so we can help the channel continue to grow. And if you're interested in connecting with any of the guests, please let me know, and I'd be happy to make the introduction.